Morning draft. And I gotta apologize for the sound of my voice this morning. I've been recovering from what we're calling a national cold in the country. So for those who are wondering why Simba is sounding like a scratch card this morning, it's just because of that. Anyway, but we gotta move on with the conversation. So let me introduce to the panel this morning Alfred Amolo, my friend, President, Homa Bay University Students Association, or how are you doing, sir?
I'm well.
All is good?
Yes.
Other than the suffering that you guys were talking about just before on air.
I'm well.
You know, you gotta say you are well. Yeah? All right. Also joining us in the studio this morning, we do have Dan Moruri, who is a student leader in Nairobi region and also a master's student at the University of Nairobi. You know what they say, Dan? And I gotta say that if your university, we were talking about that before you came, university doesn't have the article before the name of the university, then it's a university.
It's graded high school.
But even Kabarak is a university.
When you finish Kabarak, come to the great university.
Dan, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, bro. I'm good.
Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
Happy to have you gentlemen around.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let me start like this. This morning, we're essentially going to look into the new formula that President Dr. William Ruto has essentially pushed to your universities, and they said it's going to be effective this year. But I'm going to take you back all the way to where it started. Before then, we put it into perspective. But just before that, gentlemen, there's a lot that I'm going to pick your thoughts on. I know you are leading students who are in different faculties and different courses in your universities and your regions as well. I want to start with you, Dan, this morning. There's a lot that's going on in as much as the new budget proposals that have been fronted by President Dr. William Ruto are concerned. A lot of taxation here and there. Pay is gone up if you're earning 500,000 plus. That is the proposal. NSSF has gone up. NHIF has gone up. Now there's a housing fund, 3%. And where majority of your comrades now fall, that is under content production. That is also been exposed to 15% withholding tax. Before that, it was nil. Could you talk to me about the pain points? What are you guys talking about in as much as these proposals are concerned?
Well, first and foremost, I want to appreciate for your invitation here. I'm really happy to have been in this area of Nairobi. You know, we used to with downtown, but at least I've come to somewhere where I can't see matatus. It's only SUVs.
Karibu sana. You know what? That door is open for you, man. Anytime.
Thank you. So my name is Dr. Baba Zuri. That's the name that people know me with. I'm Dan Brighton Mururi. That's my M-Pesa names.
Yes.
I'm a student at the Great University of Nairobi. I did my first degree in Multimedia University. I'm a student leader in charge of all universities, high school, colleges, tertiary institutions, primary schools, even JSS.
Yes.
I mean, even Sunday schools in Nairobi region. I'm in charge of 4 million students and comrades, and I had to mention that and receive greetings from all of them. They sent me here and I'm representing all of them.
We do also send the greetings back to you, man. Thank you very much for joining the Look Up TV family.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So the agenda or the matter that you put across, first I will really appreciate. I mean, I asked the other day, we was in an interview and I was asking the government, if they want to kill us, let them just tell us. You cannot be taxing everything. I mean, already we are suffering. We as comrades, we are suffering. Comrades in the hostels are dying of depression, left, right, and center. Parents just dump students in campuses. They don't even know what they're happening. Okay, I'm sorry to say, well, even my father didn't even know where I'm schooling, you know. He just calls me and asks, have you gone to school? He doesn't even know the school that I'm going, you know. The only person, shout out to our mothers, I mean, she's the only person who took me to school, could even visit me, but could not find me in school because I mean, I'm not in school. She thought like it was like high school, you could just come, call for me, so and so, you know. So we are suffering. As a comrade, we are suffering.
Yes.
We have been there, we are there, and we will, once a comrade, always a comrade. A lot is happening in those campuses, from lack of school fees, from peer pressure. That's why you see people are engaging in these drug and whatever issues. People, comrades are doing a lot to ensure that they say, we believe that poverty is the common enemy to everyone. So we are doing everything to ensure that we fight it. And what is this that we are doing? That's why you mentioned about the content creators. Yes. Many comrades have resorted to such matters. And I want to appreciate my very own boss, Governor for Nairobi County, Governor Sakaja. When we were campaigning, we made a proposal to him. We asked him, kindly just do us one thing as youth, remove the levies that people paid in town when recording those videos and whatever. And you can confirm as we speak, I mean, every Sunday and Saturday we'll see many youths in town doing a lot of videography, doing a lot of photography in town without any charges. I mean, before, during Sonko's time and during Kidero's time, people could be paid. You'll be caught there taking or walking with the camera, and they will say that you are recording and you'll have to pay for that. So those are some of the measures the government should put across to ensure that they support youths and they support students. Telling us that you will sponsor SG, first phase, I have not even understood those, I mean, I can call them Pythagoras theorem in high school. That you will sponsor SG, the most suffering, the middle suffering. What is that? But you know, we have, but I'm the president for all needy and suffering comrades in East Africa. In East Africa, not in Nairobi or wherever. Needy and suffering. For you to be needy, number one, you must have a fee balance.
But I don't want to talk about that. Just hold on your thoughts on that.
Yes.
Because we're coming into that, because I will lay to you bare on exactly what he said and what we expect. All right, Alfred.
Yes.
Good morning, sir. Again,
morning.
How are you doing?
I'm well.
Could you touch on the pain points of your comrades right now? What are they saying? Why are you saying that you're suffering in silence, Alfred?
Okay, Simba, thank you very much for this wonderful platform. Currently, most of the comrades are in depression.
Yes.
Because there's no fee, there's no food. Most of comrades cannot afford the 3 meal square. Because you find that back at home, we are from poor background or a humble background. And again, if you come here in university, the person whom you will depend on is your parents. And you know very well that back at home, there's nothing. And currently, if you can confirm with Babazuri, there's no help for those comrades. So that means the suffering is there. You retire to bed hungry, you wake up the following morning, you attend classes, there's no food.
Yes.
And that's why you'll find now that most of the comrades now, they don't even attend classes because they don't see the reason. Again, the president last week, I think it was last week, when he came up with the funding plan of universities.
Yes.
On my side, I don't support him on that because there's no way the president can say that he will only give money to the needy students. Which criteria will he use to know that Amolo is needy and Babazuri is not a needy student?
No, I'm suffering one.
So that's the question. Which criteria and which method are they going to use to know that I'm a suffering student? And maybe on this other side, Babazuri too is suffering. That's the question here. That means you will need to apply. And for all along, I've been advocating that let the government do away with help and bursaries, so that the money which normally go to the bursary kitty and to the help to be used, so that we can have free and fair, free education from primary to university if they do away with the bursary. Because you find that when the bursary money is always allocated to the constituencies, you find that this money, it normally, the MPs normally lose this money. You will find that someone who is working at the CDF office, his son or daughter will receive 20,000, but me, I will only get 3,000. I can recall last year when I applied for a bursary, my MP gave me 3,000, and I was like, is this a pocket money? Or is this a transport to take me back to Nairobi from Homa Bay? How can you give me 3,000? Yes, a check of 3,000. And someone else who is working at the CDF office, you will add that his daughter managed to get 20,000. So I think there's a lot of problem and a lot of looting in this CDF and help. And there's a lot of delay. And if you find on help, it's always a must that you must go to to strike as comrades for you to get that money, which is your right.
Yes.
So I think the government should do away with the help and bursary,
yes,
so that we can have free education from primary to university,
that's
like
it.
other countries.
Pretty much. We're going to come and talk about that. Dan, let me walk you into the conversation then, because you said you essentially do not understand exactly what criteria that the president said is going to use then to start applying this formula. And this is what he said. Now listen to this. This is what he said, that in his assessment, he doesn't understand why majority of universities are getting into debt. And I know we started by saying, well, that well, the bigger universities in this country, but your university, specifically the University of Nairobi, you're among the leading in terms of the debt. You're actually the leading in terms of the debt that you are accumulating. Some of the members of your university have not even been able to be paid for NHIF and NSSF, these statutory contributions. So this is what he said. He said, I am not going to stop funding to universities, no, but I'm going to start funding the students themselves right now. But this is where it came from, Dan. He said, I do not understand how, Dan, you, before you went to university, you were in a primary school or a private school. Your school fee was paid fully, you graduated and went to university, but once you got to university now, you're asking me to pay your fee. Why can't you continue with the way that you are doing it back in primary school, where you're able to go to a private school? So he said there's going to be a criteria, and he said it's going to be scientific based. And they say that HELB already has that formula of classifying students into most needy, and not needy at all. So now, in as much as the funding has been increased, and we're going to look at those figures, you have to apply. The criteria is going to be used to determine whether you're needy or not for you to get access to this funding. Do you agree to that formula now? Because he said this is now the best of its kind, in the sense of, as opposed to giving your university blind money in terms of grants, we're going to fund you personally now. But then we have to take you through the process of identifying whether you're needy or not. Let me start like this, Dan. You're doing your master's at the University of Nairobi. Are you needy?
Bro, I don't even need to answer that question. I'm suffering. I'm suffering, bro.
Dan, I'm laughing. I should not be laughing.
But I'm suffering, bro.
But then, your president doesn't think that
you can even look at my eyes. I don't look like I even slept. I always say sleep is for the wicked. We've been working day and night. At night we are working. During the day we are still working to look for money to go back to school. But whatever our president is saying, I mean, doesn't make sense at all. I respect him.
Yes.
I was on the other side of the coalition last year, but because he's my president, we can't change. I support and siwezi mpinga, you know. But again, sorry to say, I was born in South Bay. I went to Nairobi South Primary. I went to Highway Secondary, and I have school in Nairobi. I was born here. Mimi msewa mtaa. Yes. I'm sorry, I don't know if we're supposed to use Kiswahili.
Yeah, you can. Let's do this.
Yeah. So, but whatever our president is saying, quote unquote, pale mtaani si tunazitanga stories za jaba. Unaelewa? Hizo ni stories za jaba. It doesn't make sense. How can you say sijui Kenangawa needy, sijui most needy, sijui limited? I mean, it doesn't add up at all. All of us, we are suffering. Let me ask you a question. In campus, they are saying that they will fund. The problem is not us paying school fees.
Yes.
I mean, there are two things here we need to understand. The institutions are crying and saying, you don't have funding and what and what. Every student in school pays school fees. You cannot do an I mean, you are in school.
I know you can't.
No,
you can't. You
don't know what's happening here. So every student, you cannot sit for an exam without paying school fees. Yeah. So since students, on our side, we have done our part. We pay to the school. So at the point whereby the school, they're saying the university cannot pay workers, I mean, that is between the institution and the government. You know? Another thing, they're saying that they will have a criteria. Which criteria? Which criteria will they use to say that Babazuri is the most suffering? To say that my good brother here is middle or whatever, suffering. I mean, all of us, we are suffering. You cannot use, if now the bursaries, we give bursaries. We worked with the Jaguar for the last 5 years in Starehe we have run CDF. We've been given out bursaries to our comrades. Last week we gave out to, with my MP Amos Mwago, the current MP for Starehe.
Yes.
And we cannot really have a specific way of saying so and so is the most needy.
Oh, Dan, why not?
How can we do that? How can we do that?
If I go back,
tell us. Maybe you have had a conversation with the president.
No, Dan,
and you are aware of.
I just want us to have this conversation this morning because we want to understand where essentially it's coming from. Dan, if you look at my records, we go back to my KCPA, and we do know that once you apply for these loans, you gotta give in your KCPA certificates, your birth certificates, and all that, so that they can track your history. If you find that I, Simba Kiage, went to a private school, where essentially within 1 year, I was maybe paying 30,000 shillings a term. That is essentially upwards of 100K within that 1 year. Do you think it's okay for you now, again, for this guy now, went to a private school, paid 100,000 shillings in a year, to come in and say, well, I've now gone to university. Alfred, I want you to respond to that before I throw it back to Dan. Okay. I've now gone to university, so I need government funding. Does it make sense? Is it unfair to that person who went to, for lack of a better word, by the way, I would say Nyakemincha? It's a school that comes from my regions. I've been there, I know it. Is it fair to somebody who qualified to go to university from probably Nyakemincha?
Absolutely fair. Because, Simba, you might find that you are in a private school, from primary up to secondary. But in this private school, your school fee was paid by our well-wishers. Are you getting the point? Maybe you managed to get a scholarship, or maybe you manage through the friends of your parents.
Yes.
Maybe someone tapped you, and you managed to get someone who can pay for your fee. And on that, you decided to go for to go to a private school.
Yes.
So that criteria cannot be used.
Or just on that basis?
Yes, even me in primary. There was a well-wisher who paid for my school fee in primary. And I went to boarding school. But back at home, we have nothing. So you can't tell me right now that the government now, they will do a follow-up, check on my records that, Alfred Amolo went to a private school and the parents paid this amount. So by now, we can't give him. We can't consider him as a needy student. That will be very wrong.
Dan, in just 1 minute, because I want us to go for a tiny break and then come back and continue with this conversation. Why would you sit in the studio today and say that you have no criteria at all that you can use to determine if Simba is needy or not?
Brother, the idea that you're giving us, theoretically, it is possible, but practically it's not.
Or it's the practicability that you're questioning.
You can't. He has said, if the church, for me, when I joined the campus in first year, the church, the village, my relatives came with coins. They contributed around 7,500 in a hotel. In that 7,500, I used 2,500 to pay the hotel. I used 2,000 to pay the drinks. I remained with the fare to take me to Rongai. But I joined the campus and I survived. I think I'm the only student who joined campus without money. But even after graduating more than 25,000 there, it is God who did that. Unasemanga ni God. Unaelewa? So using primary to identify or to confirm that this person is needy. When we are paying taxes, do we pay depending on the need? Sahi bei ya unga, kuna mtu anabai 300 mwingine 100. No. All of us we pay the same. The tax is the same. So why can't they use that criteria to say now the people let them buy unga at 100, then the rich let them buy at 300? It cannot.
I get it. So when we come back, then we shall be looking at the figures and exactly what the president said. And this is what he said. Listen, now the old model, according to the president, encouraged massive enrollment despite being inadequate funding. Now, universities are currently indebted to a tune of 60.2 billion shillings. Now, we're going to have that conversation. TVETs are also facing similar challenges due to the increase in enrollment. And this is what he said. In the financial year 2022-2023, 54 billion was allocated to university education as grants and loans. Now, the president is saying, none of that is going to go to universities. Once we come back then, Ruto said, I'm going to increase that funding to 84.6 billion. Once we come back, is it an increase in funding or a smart way to run away from funding university education? Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift, I'm still with Dan and Alfred. I like to call them comrades. So let comrades talk about that funding, isn't it? Once we come back.
Did you get some pressure from your side? Now the thing has a where size you can't give engineer a child.
The pressure was from everywhere.
Okay.
But one thing, later on I got saved. I made up my mind that I wanted to serve the Lord and live a full life. With or without a child. When they wanted to take me for another operation, he told the doctor, we live with her like that. I don't want to go again for another operation. When I was putting pressure on him to marry.
You told him to marry?
I told him. The pressure, when the pressure was too high for me, I told him, please, can you marry so that I can have peace?
This is the cook-off with Alex Karani.
Praise the Lord, everyone.
We have a Luo in the building. We have the ingredients for her, but she does not have the recipe. My question is, will she hack it?
By the way, I don't know how, even where to start. Hisi sasa ya Wanyasai ura. Ami sijui. Chenye nafikiria tu, hii unga ngano itachanganywa na maziwa na mayai. Alafu unaweka hii ndani hivi, unatumbisa kwa moto.
Maybe tunaweza test sijembe iko.
Tulishaomba.
Uliomba ikianza. How is it?
Difficult to learn.
Inaweza.
University fee, that's what he said. Now, let's get the numbers right before I call in Alfred and Dan to continue weighing in on this. In the financial year 2022-2023, 54 billion shillings was given to universities across the country in terms of loans and grants. Now, President said, not anymore. The universities have to find ways to get their money. But what I'm going to do then, as opposed to then giving them this 54 billion, I'm going to make sure that in the financial year 2023-2024, I'm going to allocate 84.6 billion shillings to TVETs and universities in this country. In fact, TVETs will get an increment of 5.2 billion from the 10 billion, from 5.2 billion to 10 billion in 2023-2024. Now, however, the budgetary allocation will not be dispersed to tertiary institutions, but rather used to fund specific students. Now, here's the thing. Students are going to be categorized into 3 groups, all right? The vulnerable, less vulnerable, and able. Now, all students shall be supported adequately to meet the cost of the program they choose to pursue, and no student will be left behind. Now, here's the thing. Done. Vulnerable students. The government will fully fund the vulnerable students who comprise 29% of the students joining university, 45,000 in universities, and 42,000 in TVETs. Let's make it clear. Less vulnerable students. This is exactly what they're going to do. Students from less vulnerable backgrounds will receive government scholarships of up to 53%, and loans from the government of up to 40%, a total of 93%. So the students from less vulnerable backgrounds will only have to figure maybe 7% of the university cost. All right, let's go to the third one, and they're saying that this 7% of the less vulnerable will be contributed by their households. So baba na mama na kijiji na church na familia, itafute your 7%. Good. Let's go to the last one. Now, able students, in this one, students will from able backgrounds will be funded through a government scholarship to a maximum of 38%. All right, and the cost of the program, and 55% in the form of loans. All right, their households will pay 7%. On paper, Dan, it doesn't look bad. Is that it? It's not saying I'm not going to fund. It's not all of them are going to receive that money. But then we're going to prioritize the most needy in that formula. Then why are we saying no to this formula then?
Yeah, you are right. Like I told you, on paper, like you've said, on paper it's looking very well, very captivating. I mean, a very good idea. But now the question is, how will you do that? How will you, because right now, like if we could use universities to maybe weigh and say that this one is suffering. I know very many vulnerable students who study in USIU, who study in Riara, who study in Strath. But how are they there? They are there through sponsorships, through equity. I don't know, the program, the equity program that they use to fund the flying whatevers. Well, I tried that. I got some good marks in primary, but I don't know what happened anyway. We have such students.
Yes.
So right now, like he almost mentioned that whatever comrades are going, there is something we call Kuinama. You get? If you find a comrade taking 2 million,
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your #1 show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home.
When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Let's go. Let's go.
Did you get some pressure from your side? Now that Nyasa, where size you can't give engineer a child.
The pressure was from everywhere.
Okay.
But one thing, later on I got saved. I made up my mind that I wanted to serve the Lord and live a full life. With or without a child. When they wanted to take me for another operation, he told the doctor, we live like that. I don't want to go again for another operation. When I was putting pressure on him to marry.
You told him to marry?
I told him. The pressure, when the pressure was too high for me, I told him, please, can you marry so that I can have peace?
this is the cook-off with Alex Karani.
Praise the Lord, everyone.
We have a Luo in the building. We have the ingredients for her, but she does not have the recipe. My question is, will she hack it?
By the way, I don't know how, even where to start. Isi sasa ya Wanyasai ura. Ami sijui. Chenye nafikiria tu. Hii unga ngano itachanganywa na